answer unless we had more details that the Elder Services Board could review and approve.
Okay. Thank you.
So case by case, is that what I'm hearing?
Yes,
And
yes, case by case.
Okay.
This initiative isn't, could include complete streets, but it's a plan for the whole senior-friendly community.
Actually, for an age-friendly community.
Age-friendly.
So it incorporates greater than the senior component, because an age-friendly community is a senior-friendly community.
And it's gotta be done by spring of next year, so you gotta be doing this fast.
Right, that's what we would,
So the quiet street could be a separate effort.
well, this is just to develop the plan, not to implement anything. It's to develop a plan based on survey data that we will be receiving.
Trustee Warren?
I was just wondering, probably a basic question, but could you give me a little bit of a background on what complete streets are?
Bart?
Some clarification on
Great, or
Step
up your
up.
phone.
It's the same question that came up for Bike and
Yeah.
Test before, and it was one of my initiatives. It's a contextually designed street that prioritizes all users, not just automobiles. So,
Okay,
right,
makes sense, thank you.
tons of options to include within a complete street, but
Trustee Menta? Last question.
Yeah, on the shared housing project, you say, develop a plan for a shared housing project to expand affordable housing options and intergenerational connections for Shroewood residents and UWM students. You say, are you talking Shroewood residents 55 plus? I mean, you just say Shroewood residents, so I'm not sure what you're,
Well,
I mean, because it's elder services and seniors, so I'm assuming it's seniors, but you don't say that.
well, and it wouldn't have to be, but that is the intent. Is the intent behind that is that we're looking for affordable housing options for older adults, but it wouldn't if a program came up, it wouldn't necessarily have to be for a 55, 60 plus household.
But why would you want, what is the advantage of senior housing with students?
Well,
I would think it would be, I mean, those are not the natural groups. I guess maybe family housing with students might be.
Well, okay.
Yeah, there are actually, but I'll let you respond.
Several models
30
of this throughout the country where, and in fact, UWM's in Basting has located students in senior housing facilities and paired them and done some creative arts programming. So we'd like to look at different models as a way to help support older adults who are looking for a way to stay in their own homes, make it affordable, have the kind of help they need, foster intergenerational relationships. So.
And they both are in the same affordability category, which I see as a natural partnership. Because you see like, what's River Park or whatever, one of our condominiums where you see a lot of students, you see a lot of elderly, they're in the same income affordability bracket, some of them.
I do have to make one clarification on the shared housing initiative. It would actually, the dates, the years were wrong. It would be something that we would start next year because we won't have the time. We'd have to start right now trying to identify an intern through UWM, and I don't have the time to work on that. So that's something that we would do next summer if approved.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we are at time for senior resource center and elder services and registration. And again, we can move back. Moving on to the finance department, tab 7. So actually these last three are in order, which is awesome. Just flip to the next tab, Mark. There's 2 initiatives listed for finance. Questions specific to the finance department for Mark?
Enhanced utility infrastructure, is this what we talked about in the assessment management? Is this what the audit was talking about?
No.
No. What does it do? Oh, the asset
What-
management. What are we doing now versus what you're proposing?
Well,
So the clarification clarification is what would change?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, right now, access to system-wide information in a lawn review is extremely limited. Compiling that information would go back to project by project as-built over the last 10, 15 years. Certainly there are administrative maps that have been put in place, but what I'm looking for is some more formal identification of system elements that could be used to look a little more long-term. What are the long-term costs that are going to be coming, as you know, and where are the gaps in the segments, and then integrate that into the municipal asset records, which is something that is not currently done. So that's really the objective, is to be able to manage that at the finance department level. And obviously the way that makes most sense is to make that available for everybody, which is why my suggestion would be make that part of the GIS system that can get, that data can be extracted by multiple users.
Is this something similar to like right-of-way lines in the GIS system? I mean, like.
Not to my knowledge, no.
Like a mapping exercise of where our right-of-way is?
Do we have to have the value of these assets, or is it to cost them in your statements, financial statements, or
No.
what do we get in return for spending this money?
We get a long-term ability to maintain our system records that's not dependent on papers or individual employee knowledge.
So
It's a system.
institutional knowledge, long-term, and also ease of access, because I'm sure it takes you time. Is that what we're gaining? Like, it takes us a long time to find the records?
Well, for different users, there's different needs, and this would hopefully accommodate the needs for all users. But it's a very meticulous and time-consuming process that would need to be addressed. I've tried to do it the old school way, and I didn't make much progress.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Menton?
Doesn't DPW keep records of improvements, new water lines, sewer changes? I mean, they must have either a file cabinet or a map or a GIS that shows
Sounds like a file
where projects have been done, correct?
Well, my understanding is it's in filing cabinets, project by project.
It's not mapped anymore.
Well, again, I'm sure there are maps, and again, if Leanne's back here wants to add to that, I have no objections.
So, just to clarify, are there additional clarifications from Mark specifically? Is it around the systems? Are there other systems being leveraged? Is that a point of clarification? I just want to.
I'm trying to determine where data on our water, how the data on water and sewer projects improvements are kept now.
as opposed to the initiative, so what's changing?
Okay.
I think as a general rule, the last 10 to 15 years of project data is incorporated into the GIS system. And when I say data, I mean specific data related to as-built or elevations, maintenance records, that sort of thing. Prior to that, the vast majority of it is located in paper files. I think the thing that Mark and I have discussed, if you will, for the past couple of years, and oftentimes kind of like this, is that GIS data can be used for multiple purposes, and the data is structured for our use for maintenance of the facilities, not necessarily for asset management tracking in terms of financial dollars. So we have a relatively comprehensive GIS system for DPW and utility purposes, not for financial management purposes. It's different.
Different needs. Yeah. So I'd like to enhance that system to,
Yeah, you would be using that same GIS system, you're not doing it with GIS.
correct. but it's a significant enhancement to the data that's already in the system.
Does that clarify, Stephen? Or is there additional clarification?
So you're not adding more,
I guess there's additional.
because it's information, further GIS information like
Trustee
segments
Maher,
that aren't in the
clarification.
GIS. You aren't going into those DPW file cabinets,
All that is-
loading the sewers into, or you're just adding the values of the existing stuff in GIS.
That's my understanding.
That's my understanding.
Thank you.
Okay, so the clarification, is that
Yeah.
understood? Okay, additional clarifications on finance for Mark. On proposed initiatives. Is it clarification?
Trustee Mentor.
What special, I know we have special assessments for sidewalks. Are there other special assessments that you would be tracking?
Well, again, when I put together the initiatives for the finance department, my context was perhaps a little bit different than some of the other areas we've heard from. You know, I did not list the 6 or 8 various technology assist programs that would help in the fiscal area so much as, you know, should the board proceed with other initiatives that may require multi-year special assessments, we need to track that information in a secure database that's accessible to customer service, it's accessible to building inspection, anybody who might get an inquiry about outstanding special assessments.
Can you give me a list of special assessments that you're talking about?
The board has in the past done multi-year special assessments on sidewalks. We've contemplated things with the nature of alleys, and I would suspect that any future financial assistance programs with lead lateral replacements would ultimately be a strong candidate for special assessment over multiple years as the mechanism used to facilitate those programs.
Is there other programs also that when people don't pay something, we special assess? Is there anything like that? I'm just wondering if that would go into the status.
Well, I mean, technically there are certain aspects of municipal invoices, but again, we're talking multi-year agreements that we need to track for, really for real estate closings. And we need to share that information in a secure form, not just on a spreadsheet.
Additional questions for finance? Thank you. So, thank you, Mark. Library is the last area in this specific grouping. We're going to go mostly on Rachel?
I didn't hear.
I thought we weren't doing library.
You're right. Libraries, so I wanted to comment on this. Libraries for information only, similar to marketing communications. So it doesn't leverage time or dollars from the board.
Where do you want it? So there's 3, and we pulled marketing out, that's why we'll address it at another time.
Yep.
But, so we only have 2 left that are for informational, correct?
Correct.
Put on the agenda besides the municipal court. Yeah, we skipped over municipal court.
We did. No, I don't know why I don't.
Or is it first one? Okay, sure. Oh, I think we
Yeah.
did.
So,
You're right. The library wasn't, I apologize. Municipal court is next on the list. And Sarah, thank you. 10. Tab 10. Judge. Judge DeMeno.
no.
Non-representative from municipal courts. If there's questions, perhaps others on the board can clarify, given their past knowledge in this category. Are there questions that come up or even that we could follow up with for municipal courts?
Well, they're proposing another, looks like tax intercept program. That's their initiative. that different from our traffic?
Traffic and parking are different, yes.
Different, okay.
Can they utilize the same system, if there was a system?
I believe theirs is state-based, chief, is that correct, where ours is local?
To be honest, I don't know that much about it, so I can't answer that. We can check.
Question for clarification.
And just to follow up on questions, but just for clarification, will you be sending those out through Rebecca to the board, village board? I just don't feel comfortable if not knowing anything about it, prioritizing it. I don't want to just, without getting some information, maybe we don't need to maybe waste time at the board again, rehashing it, but
If there's specific questions you have that need to be clarified, could we reach out?
like how would that information come back to us before we prioritize our final list?
Well, we could ask for the department heads or committees to provide